It's the International Soccer Preview. We are Soccerphiles Canada. Welcome to Series 32, looking at the players of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. This episode is looking at the players of Cape Verde, Part 2, the selections. Here we go. Hello and welcome to the International Soccer Preview by Soccerphiles Canada. I'm Kevin, and this is a continuation of Series 32 on the players of the 2026 World Cup. This episode is part of our coverage of, is part 2 of our coverage of Cape Verde's players. The final roster is released, and we're looking at the selections. In part 1, we compiled a list of players and their likelihood of reaching the final squad. That was based mostly on their participation over the last 2 years, up until the end of 2025. We considered a few other factors as well, and we also gave some biographical and career information on the main players to help you to get to know them better. In part 2 here, our focus is on the selections, especially the final selections. Just a note on our podcasts here, our media casts. We're not sure if we're going to complete all 48 teams before the Cup, so we're going to make a few changes. Firstly, we're going to delay on the remaining CAF and CONCACAF teams. That's the African and North American regions. We covered Ivory Coast, Tunisia, Egypt, Senegal, Algeria, and Congo DR just 6 months ago for the 2025 African Cup, and Curacao less than a year ago for the 2025 Gold Cup. So these teams haven't changed a lot. We will get to them eventually, but if you're interested in these teams, check out our back catalogue using the address on the screens or in the show notes. Also, after Group E, we're going to start publishing part 2 of the teams that we've done together. That's what I'm doing now. And then after we catch up with part 2, we're going to publish the as many as we can of the remaining teams. That's from Group F onwards, basically. And we're going to do parts 1 and 2 together for those ones. All right, on with our business here. This media cast, part 2, is divided into 3 sections. Like part 1, we'll give a little information on the team. That's going to be fairly short here in part 2. The main order of business is the selections for the final squad. There, we'll let you know. We'll also try to predict starters. And then in section 3, hang on, let me just go back to section 2. So yes, we're going to use the list that we compiled in part 1. And we're also going to look at the lineups for the games we didn't cover in part 1. Those are the March friendlies and any warm-up games that have already taken place. In section 3, we will start with a spotlight review. That is a quick run through of the main players and who made the squad and who didn't. We'll also review surprise selections, non-selections, new players, and we're going to look at big players off the squad and update injuries there in section 3. So on we go with section 1. We are going to change the order a bit, first of all. Begin with the squad. Well, teams are allowed to bring 26 players here, 23 to 26. Most brought 26, and Cape Verde did, so 26 players. And like many teams, they did not release a preliminary squad, so we just have the final squad to work with here. Before we move on to section 2 and see who those players were, let's take a look at the games that they've played since we did part 1. So we had 2 friendlies in March. I've got warm-up games on the title, but actually those would just be the pre-tournament games, recent games. Let's change it to recent games. We have the March. I've been told I say and too much, so I was laughing at myself and my long as there. Okay, March 27th. Both of their games were in New Zealand. It was kind of a little mini tournament there, but for the most part, we consider them friendlies. They played Chile. They lost to Chile 4-2 there in New Zealand. And then they played Finland. They tied Finland 1-1, but won on penalties there. We're not actually interested in the results, though. We're really just interested in the lineups. And we do have one of the games played. It wasn't scheduled when we did part A, so it wasn't. It's not on the screen, but here I am putting it. May 31st in Portugal, they played against Serbia, and a 3-0 win there. And that scheduled game for June 6th in the USA with Haiti is still on, but has not taken place yet. Okay, so we are going to use those games to kind of help us with the prediction. Let's just kind of review what we did for formations in part one very quickly. So really two formations that they use a lot. We have a 4-3-3 used in 55% of the games, and a 4-2-3-1 used in 40% of the games, and then there was one formation that we won't get into. In our analysis of that, we have the two-man central defense in 100% of the game. So they always use two central defenders, a right back and a left back. Also, it's a single forward in 100% of the games. And again, I'll remind you that we consider a 4-3-3 to be a single forward flanked by two attacking midfielders, because usually it is the attacking midfielders playing. Let's take a look at what we have in the recent games, see if they stick with that. And what I see here is in all three games, they use a 4-2-3-1. So that kind of evens it up to about 50%. Each of those formations, a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-3-3. So it's just a midfield that changes there, and maybe you can keep those formations in mind as we go forward. Let's move on to section 2 and the candidates, the main order of business here. So we'll begin with the manager, Bubista. I think we considered him a definite candidate in that they wouldn't change him before the tournament, and they did not. He is selected, as it were. All right, let's move on to goalkeepers, and well, we'll go through the candidates here. We have Vozinha as a definite candidate, and he was selected. Our first likely candidate, though, Bruno Varela, was not selected. We reported in part one that he was out with an unknown injury since mid-February and an unknown return date, and that situation hasn't changed. So he is out injured for the Cup. Our other likely candidate, though, Marcio Rosa, was selected for the squad. A possible candidate, CJ Dos Santos, was selected for the squad, likely stepping in for Bruno Varela rather than having been selected ahead of him, as it were. And then the rest of the candidates were not selected. So we have possible but unlikely Henri Tavares, and seemingly off the squad, Thiago Gomez, and Dylan Silva. Let's see if we have any new candidates, and we do not. So we'll try to predict the starters here. Basically, it has been the ageless Vozinha selected, despite being 39 years old. He's basically remained the starter. Throughout the period, Bruno Varela did start 7 games. So it looked, well, it didn't really look like he was mounting a challenge for the position, but perhaps, getting more game time and being considered maybe down the road as the starter. However, he was really the only one challenging, if we can call it a challenge, for the position, and now he's out injured. So we doubt Marcio Rosa or CJ Dos Santos would challenge Vozinha for the position. So we're going to give him 3 stars as a definite starter here. I just want to see What happened in the games, though? It was Vojinha in the first March game, but Rosa got a start in the second game, and they have been giving him starts, him and Varela starts over the period. So we don't really consider that a challenge to Vojinha. But it does make clear that Marcio Rosa is the second string keeper, we think. And then in the May game, it was Vojinha again. So we're going to give 3 stars to Vojinha as the starter, and that indicates a definite starter. Okay, on we go to central defence, and here we have Dini Borges as a definite candidate. He was selected, and Logan Costa also selected. There was a bit of an injury concern with him, and I will come back to that. Let's move on, though. We had at the likely level Roberto Lopez, or Pico, sometimes listed as Pico, and he was selected for the final squad. We had 5 possible candidates. The first one, returning veteran Stopira, was selected for the final squad. The second one, David Morera, was not selected. Third one, Kelvin Perez, was selected for the final squad. And then the next one's Ricardo Santos and Yuran Fernandez, not selected, nor were our 2 possible but unlikely candidates, newcomers Christian de Grassa and Bruno Almeida. So there we have it. I'll just kind of repeat because we don't have any new candidates to add. Definite candidates: Dini Borges, Logan Costa. Also selected Robert Pico Lopez, Stopira, and Kevin Perez. No new candidates there. Let's go back to talk about the situation with Logan Costa, because he was a starter before he got injured, but it's a big injury. He started all games from November 2023 to March 2025. And then in July 2025, suffered an ACL rupture. They seem to be calling that a cruciate ligament tear nowadays. His team said it would leave him out for the entire 2025-2026 season. Well, that was true for the most part, but he did return in April 2026, late April. And he was on the bench for 4 games for his team and subbed into the last 2 games of the season, playing about 15 minutes in each of those games. His team, by the way, is Villarreal. And so coming back into fitness. So now the question is, will he be fit enough for the Cup? Okay, well, we'll take a look and see if he showed up in the May game, but let's go on to predicting our starters. So as I said, even though Dini Borges is at the top of the list here, the real starting pair is Logan Costa and Pico Lopez, or Roberto Lopez. Borges, though, did step in 2025 and was apparently excellent in his form, and Kelvin Perez also got a few appearances. Stopira clearly is kind of in there for backup, not as a starter. So I just want to see how many games Perez had. Yeah, he started 1, so more of a backup player too. Let's take a look at the March games. We don't expect to see Costa there. He wasn't returned to fitness. We have Dini and Lopez. So that is the starting pair that we expect to see. And in the second game, we have Perez and Lopez. So giving Perez a try out there. Maybe he's challenging for the position. When we get to May, we still don't see Costa on the bench, May 31st. So looks like he's still not up to fitness. What we have here is, I think this graphic I have is wrong because it has Cabral as a central defender and Dini as a left back. I think it's Dini, Borges, and Pico Lopez there in the May game. And so we'll have to see if Logan Costa is going to be a starter. So this is our conclusion on that. Pico Lopez, we consider a definite starter. And then we consider Logan Costa, a likely starter. It depends on his fitness, though. We think if he's fit, he'll start. But it's not clear whether he will be. In that case, we consider Borges the most likely pairing with Pico, and then we'll give 1 star to Calvin Perez, who is a possible candidate. Let's move on to the left backs. And here we have just the one candidate, João Paulo Fernandes, and he was selected for the final squad. We have no candidates at the likely impossible level, so we go to possible but unlikely Jordan Semedo. He was not selected, and nor was Dylan Tavares, who has been a fairly big player. He's a starter in the 2021 African Cup there, but he was seemingly off the squad, so out of the picture. We have no new candidates here, so they rely heavily on João Fernandes for this position. And if he is not playing in that position, it will be it'll be an out of position player, a variety of out of position players, usually one of the central defenders or a right back, who we're going to meet shortly. But João Paulo Fernandes is there most of the time. In fact, he was a central midfielder, and for the 2023 AFCON Cup, the manager had to play him out of position as a left back. Anyway, we are getting off topic there. Let's take a look at the recent lineups there. And yes, João Fernandes not part of the first March game. Replacing him here is Cabral, but it's I kind of got him mixed up with the forward Jovin Cabral, but it's right back Sidney Lopez Cabral stepping in for him there. So as we said, various players stepping in. In the second game, João Pedro was there. And in the third game, perhaps it was Dini replacing him on the left, and Sidney Cabral playing in the centre. But again, we think it's more likely that the lineup I have is wrong, and that Dini played in the centre, and once again, Cabral, Sidney Lopez Cabral replaced João Fernando. Nevertheless, we are quite firm on João Paulo Fernandes as a definite candidate. So we're going to put 3 stars beside him. And I guess because of the friendlies, we could put Sidney Lopez Cabral as the backup player, as it were, since he was used twice. So we'll give 1 star as a possible starter to Sidney Lopez Cabral as a left back. I'm just jumping down on the list here, but actually we're now going down. We're going 2 right backs where we do meet Sidney Lopez Cabral. And but we have 2 candidates ahead of him. We have definite candidate Wagner Pina, and he was selected for the final squad. And also Steven Moreira, a likely candidate selected for the final squad. Sidney Lopez Cabral is the 3rd player on the list there, but also selected. So actually, maybe he's kind of brought in as a backup for the left side. As I said, throughout the period, it was various players, but maybe they've landed on Sidney Lopez Cabral as the backup for the left side. We also had at the possible level Jojo. He did get some starts, but not selected for the final squad. And then we have possible but unlikely Rivaldo or Rivaldo Moraes, and not selected either. So the candidates are Wagner Pina, Steven Moreira, and Sidney Lopez Cabral. And let's look at the starters in this position. Really, it is Steven Moreira was in the position quite firmly at first, but over the course of the period, Wagner Pina started to get more starts. Another player came into it, and it wasn't Sidney Lopez Cabral. It was left winger or left attacking midfielder Willie Semedo, oddly coming back to fill in several times in the position. So we're going to give 2 stars. We think Morera may have the edge here, but pretty even now with Wagner Pino. We're going to give 2 stars to each of those, and we're going to give 1 star to. Upfield, we go to left attacking midfielders, and where is he? Willie Semedo. We're going to give him 1 star as right back. Yeah, it seems like they have good coverage of that position. So Willie Semedo coming back is a bit odd. But there we have it. Let's move on upfield now. We're finished with right back and with defenders, so we're going upfield to midfielders, central and defensive midfielders. We're going to kind of group those together here. So sometimes they do have the defensive midfielders in a 4-2-3-1. In that central attacking midfield position in that 3. Sometimes it is a central midfielder, so a bit of mixing between those positions, attacking midfield, central attacking midfield and central midfield. And sometimes they use a 4-3-3, in which case it could be defensive central or sometimes attacking midfielders coming into that midfield line of 3 there. So here we go with the candidates. We have defensive midfielder Kevin Pina, sometimes called Lalini, so you may be referred to as Lalini. Kevin Pina, a definite candidate and selected for the squad. The first of the Duarte brothers, Laros Duarte, was a likely candidate and was selected for the squad. Our possible candidate, Ailson Tavares, not selected. And then 2 possible but unlikely candidates not selected either. That's Elson Mendez and Stefan Koueni. And 2 seemingly off the squad players also not selected, Kuka and Diogo Mendes. So just Kevin Pino or Lalini there and Laros Duarte. We'll also do the central midfielders here. The other Duarte brother, Deroy Duarte, was a definite candidate and he was selected. Jamiro Montera was an injury concern, and I will come back and talk. Well, no, I might as well deal with it now. He was out with an unknown injury since February 7th and an unknown return date, but he returned on May 3rd and played 2 games as a substitute, then 77 minutes as a starter. So seemed to be working hard to get back to fitness. And he plays for, by the way, for Zwolle in the Netherlands there. So Jamiro Montero selected, even though he is a bit of an injury concern there. Our other likely candidate, Yannick Semedo, also selected. We had no candidates at the possible but unlikely level, and 2 candidates at the seemingly off the squad level not making it. Both of them quite experienced with the team. Patrick Andrade has mostly been a sub, but was part of the last 2 African Cups. For Cape Verde, that was 2021 and 2023. And the other one, Kenny Roca Santos, a starter in the 2021 African Cup, and then like Andrade, more of a sub in the 2023 African Cup. So neither of those players making it, and they had been off the squad for a while, so we're at the seemingly off the squad level. All right, those are our candidates. We'll see if we have any new ones, and we don't. So let's predict the starters, and we'll go back to the. Well, we're not going to make a big meal out of this. Basically, it's Kevin Pina, Jamiro Montero, and Deroy Duarte, often in a line in that 4-3-3. Sometimes we have attacking midfielder Arcanjo coming back into that line, and Yannick Semedo, who also is more of an attacker, coming back to play as central midfielders. Both of them play as attacking midfielders more. And then Jamiro Montero sometimes plays as a attacking midfielder, right attacking midfielder or central. I think I've even seen Jamiro Montero playing as a forward. There we go. Let's look at the recent games and see what we have. All of them are 4-2-3-1 formations, so playing in a defensive midfielder role. And we have Kevin Pina and Deroy Duarte in the first one. And then we have Yannick Semedo and a player I haven't mentioned in what seems a more experimental midfield in the second game there. And then, yes, and Willie Semedo, no, sorry, Yannick Semedo in the midfield there. And then in the May game, we have attacking midfielder Arcanjo playing as a defensive midfielder, Kevin Pina as a defensive midfielder, but scoring a goal, and Jamiro Montero as a central attacking midfielder, as I said, does play in that role a bit. So what do we got here? Well, we're going to give likely starters again, 2 or 3 candidates over here. So we have some stars to dish out. Kevin Pina, we're going to put as a likely starter. Jamiro Montero, a likely starter, and Deroy Duarte as a likely starter. And then Yannick Semedo, we'll give 1 star. Hang on a sec. 1 star as a starter in the central midfield here. And we will give 1 star to attacking midfielder Arcanja as a central midfielder too. So I got to go kind of upfield to find him on the roster. And there he is as a central attacker. And as a central midfielder, 1 star for him. Okay, let's go on. Well, we're finished with the midfield in one big gulp there, central midfield. So we're going to go on to attacking midfielders. Sorry if my graphics are making you dizzy as I jump around from place to place. Left attacking midfielders then is where we start. And on our list, we had no candidates at the definite level. We had Willie Semedo, who we met sometimes coming back as a right back, but really up here as a left attacking midfielder, and a likely candidate. He was selected for the final squad. The second likely candidate is Helio Varela, also selected for the final squad. But newcomer Hera Tavares, despite being a likely candidate, was not selected for the squad. And let me try that name again. It's Harry Tavares. At the possible level, we have Joe Bain Cabral. The only reason he was at the possible level was because he was not selected for the last 4 games. But we do see him higher than the possible level, really, and as possible starter. 2 candidates at the possible but unlikely level, Ruben Pina and Ilano Silva Timas, neither of those selected. And 2 seemingly off the squad players. Bebe is the first of those. He played a big role early in the period, actually. He was a starter in the African Cup and played a fairly big role. He scored the goal of the tournament in the 2023 African Cup, just a thunderous free kick from 40 yards out. And then later he took another similar free kick and smashed the crossbar. So I'm going to miss Bebe. He last appeared in November of 2024 and was not selected for the final squad. The other seemingly off the squad player was Clay. That's CLE, the spelling, as in the meaning key, you know. Not selected. I don't know why I'm spending time talking about his name. Sorry about that. Let's see. So any new candidates here? No. So let's talk about the Starters. Cabral is actually the most likely. He often switches with right attacking midfield and Ryan Mendes. So you might see either one of them on either side. Willie Semedo um, made a few appearances as well, and Varela sometimes gets a start here. And so I just want to make a little correction in my notes there. Okay, so yes, just Willie Tomato was more likely, but really Jovain Cabral is the more likely starter over here. Let's take a look and see what we have in the recent games. So we have an unknown player or a player. I don't want to overcomplicate things. In the March game, it looks like they tried someone out as left attacking midfielder. But in the second game, it was Willie Tomato. And then in the third game, it was Ryan Mendes, but it was Jovain Cabral on the right side. So we see them switching right there. So we'll call that Jovain Cabral there. In terms of starters, we're going to give Cabral the likely starter there, and Willie Semedo possible starter as a left attacker, and also Helio Varela as a possible candidate there too. So Jovain Cabral, the most likely candidate over here. Let's go to the right side where we have Ryan Mendes as a definite candidate, and of course he was selected for the squad. He's the captain of the team. And yeah, their biggest player, I would say. He's 36 years old now, though. No candidates at the likely level. And then we have Gary Rodriguez or Gary Mendes Rodriguez at the possible level. He's pretty versatile, can be found playing as a forward sometimes. Two candidates at the possible but unlikely level. Fabricio Garcia and Alvin Fortes, neither of those selected. And then we have Lisandro Semeda seemingly off the squad and not selected either. So just Ryan Mendes and Gary Rodriguez over here. In terms of starters, it's Mendes, and when it's not Mendes, it's usually an out of position player, not necessarily Gary Rodriguez. I'm actually surprised at how few starts he got over the period. We do see, by the way, Mendes switching with Cabral from right to left, but we still consider him a right attacking midfielder. Some of the players who may replace Mendes when he's not there, Gary Rodriguez and central midfielder Montero there. And so let us look at the March games there. And we have Ryan Mendes starting in the first March game. Gary Rodriguez starting in the second. Yes, they did seem to use a few backup players in those friendlies. And then in the third game, we're going to say Ryan Mendes started, although he did switch flanks with Jovain Cabral there. So Ryan Mendes, I would say the definite starter over here. We'll give one star to Gary Mendes because he may start in another position, or he may start here if Ryan Mendes is elsewhere. They do switch around a little bit there. So 1 star each. And again, we might see Jamiro Montero up here as well, but we won't talk about stars with him. Let's move to central attackers. On our list here, we have none at the definite level, but we have a player we've already met because he played in central midfield sometimes. That is Telmo Arcanjo, who was selected for the final squad. And possible candidate Alessio de Cruz, not selected. Possible but unlikely candidate, David Costa, not selected. And seemingly off the squad, David Tavares, not selected. So only Telmo Arcanjo over here. So again, if you think of the formations, they use this central attacking midfielder position only half of the time. And when they do use it, though, increasingly it is Arcanjo, not so much at the beginning of the period in 2024. That's why we saw Ryan Mendes, perhaps Gary Rodriguez, or Jamiro Montero coming into the position. But Arcanjo now increasingly starting here. But I'm only going to give him 2 stars as a starter here because they don't use the position all the time. So Telmo Arcanjo. I'm tempted just to give him 1 star. Yes, I will. I don't think he's a likely starter. So we'll give him 1 star as a central attacking midfielder and 1 star as a central midfielder there. Because he hasn't started that many games. Okay, on we go to forwards. Do we have a secondary striker? Oh my goodness, where am I? No, we don't have a secondary striker. So we're just dealing with forwards. At the definite level, we have Daylon Livramento storming onto the scene. And no surprise that he was selected. He scored 4 of 16 goals in qualifying there. We have none at the likely level. At the possible level, we have Nuno da Costa, who was selected, and also Gilson Tavares, sometimes called Benchimo, who was selected for the squad here. And 2 seemingly off the squad candidates were not selected. That's Brian Teixeira and Patrick Fernandez. Both of those. Brian Teixeira haven't played in the 2023 African Cup there. And no new candidates to add. So we will consider the starters here. Well, as I said, Bebe, who's coded as a left attacking midfielder, actually should have been put as a forward here. He was there a lot in the first half of the period, but now, as you see, off the squad. So it's Livramento, newcomer, getting the lion's share of starts over the period. And then we do see a couple of out-of-position players, Tavares and Ryan Mendes. Let's look at the recent games. So in the first game, Livramento was the starter. He scored a goal. And in the second game, it's kind of a tryout player whose name I won't mention. And in the third game, it's Nuno da Costa in the May game getting the start there. However, we don't have any doubt that it will be Livramento in the position. So we're going to give him 3 stars as a definite starter. And we're going to give da Costa 1 star there. And that brings us to the end of our look at the players. We're going to move on to section 3. And here we want to, just let me get the graphics straight. We're going to move on to section 3. And here we want to welcome listeners to the short version of the mediacast as well. We begin with our spotlight review. So we're going to race through what we covered in section 2 and just kind of summarize it there. We begin with manager Bubista, who was selected or was not dismissed or anything before the Cup. We'll consider him a selection. Goalkeepers, we had definite candidate Vozina, who was selected. However, likely candidate Bruno Varela. Bruno Varela not selected due to injury. The other likely candidate, Marcio Rosa, was selected. And possible candidate CJ Dos Santos, the American-born player, basically getting the position because Varela is out there. We're not going to mention players at the possible but unlikely or seemingly off the squad level unless there's a reason to. We do see outgoing Dylan Silva as Dylan Tavares as no, sorry, I'm mixing him up with the defender. What am I thinking? Forget about that. In terms of starters, we think that Bozinha is the definite starter. Marcio Rosa is the backup, the second string keeper. We're quite sure. Okay, that is Bozinha, Marcio Rosa, and CJ Dos Santos making the squad. On to central defenders, we have two definite candidates, Dini Borges and Logan Costa. And then we have likely candidate Roberto Pico Lopez. But don't let those labels fool you. It's Costa and Pico as the starters. We'll come back to that, though. All three of those were selected, by the way. And we had five possible candidates. Two of them were selected, Stopira and Kelvin Perez, but three of them were not selected. All newcomers, by the way, during this period. David Morera, Ricardo Santos, and Yuran Fernandez. Also, two newcomers at the possible but unlikely level. Oh, no, but we're not going over those. Okay, so our candidates are Dini Borges, Logan Costa, Robert Lopez, sometimes called Pico, Stopira, and Kelvin Perez. In terms of starters, well, Logan Costa is struggling with injuries. Logan Costa and Pico are the natural starters, but Logan Costa not fully back from his injury. So we give him 2 stars and Dini Borges 2 stars as likely candidates. Pico Lopez as a definite starter, we give him 3 stars, and then we give Kelvin Perez 1 star as a possible starter. Okay, on we go to left backs. We have a definite candidate in João Paulo Fernandes and no candidates at the likely or possible level. We consider João Paulo Fernandes the definite starter. If he's replaced, we'll talk about that if he's not available. Let's go over to right back. We have a definite candidate in Wagner Pina and 2 likely candidates, Steven Moreira and Sidney Lopez Cabral. All 3 of them making it to the final squad there. We have a possible candidate, Jojo, not selected, and that's all we'll cover. If you are looking at the YouTube, by the way, you can see names below that level. In terms of starters, well, for the right back, we think Wagner Pina and Steven Moreira have an even chance there. Moreira was the starter, and Wagner kind of caught up to him during over this period. So we give them both 2 stars as likely candidates. Sidney Lopez Cabral has recently become the backup, it seems, for the left back position. So for most of the period when João Paulo Fernandes was out, we saw various central midfielders or right backs, such as Pina Wagner, coming in to replace him. But over the 2 most recent games, it's been Sidney Lopez Cabral. So we think we're giving him 1 star, a possible starter as a left back, Sidney Lopez Cabral, but not really as a right back. And finally, as a right back, we're giving left attacking midfielder Willie Semedo 1 star as a possible starter, although we don't really think it'll happen during the Cup as it did during the recent period, because now we have coverage. More coverage. On to midfielders, so defensive midfielders. Kevin Pina, sometimes listed as Lalini, is a definite candidate and was selected. Likely candidate Laros Duarte, also selected. Or possible candidate, Ailson Tavares, not selected. We'll jump to central midfielders and then talk about starters in the central midfield. So definite candidate Deroy Duarte was selected, and likely candidate Jamiro Montero also selected, and Yannick Semedo, a likely candidate, also selected. That's all we have really here. So let's now talk about starters. They use a 4-3-3 formation, about as the same amount as a 4-2-3-1 formation. And so if you work that out in your head. Sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, and you can envision the positions there. So anyway, Kevin Pino or Lalini, we gave 2 stars as a likely starter. Laros Duarte, we see more as a substitute there. So no stars for him. But his brother, Deroy Duarte, we give 2 stars as a likely starter. And also Jamiro Montero, 2 stars as a likely starter. Yannick Semedo, 1 star as a possible starter. And I will mention we gave 1 star to attacking midfielder Arcanjo, who sometimes comes back into the midfield. And also Jamiro Montero, who we mentioned here, we're going to give 1 star as an attacking midfielder because he sometimes plays as an attacking midfielder. And we're moving on to upfield to the attacking midfielders here. So here we had no definite candidate, but 3 likely candidates. The first 2 selected, Willie Semedo and Helio Varela, but the third, Harry Tavares, not selected there. Our possible candidate, Jovane Cabral, was selected. But really, he's the main player over here. We had him as a possible candidate because he had missed the last 4 games in the fall of 2025, so we weren't sure if he was drifting off the squad. He's not, though, and we give him 2 stars as the likely starter over here. And we give both Willie Semedo and Helio Varela 1 star as possible starter. But keep in mind, we also gave Willie Semedo 1 star as a right back, starting as a right back. Okay, we go to right attackers. We have a definite candidate in Ryan Mendes, captain of the team, and he was selected, as was our possible candidate, Gary Rodriguez, or Gary Mendes Rodriguez. Both of those selected. We give 3 stars to Ryan Mendes as a definite starter, and 1 star to Gary Rodriguez as a possible starter, and not necessarily in this position. Up to central attackers, no candidates at the definite level, and we have a likely candidate, Telmo Arcanjo, who was selected for the final squad, and then possible candidate Alessio De Cruz. Alessio De Cruz was not selected for the final squad. In terms of starters, we think Telmo Arcanjo is a possible starter. If they use the central attacking midfield, it looks like now he would be the starter. But Jamiro Montero, the central midfielder, also might be the starter. So Arcanjo gets 1 star as a possible starter in his position, and 1 star as a possible starter as a central midfielder. Finally, we move on to forwards, and we have a definite candidate in Daylon Livramento, who was selected, as were our 2 possible candidates, Nuno da Costa and Gilson Tavares, sometimes called Benchimo, both of those selected. I do want to point out Bebe. He's actually coded as a left attacking midfielder. We should have put him as a forward. Really a bit of a surprising non-selection. He was kind of involved very much so in the last Gold Cup or last African Cup in 2023, and for about a year after that, but then has not been selected for a year. But he was, kind of their main player in their main forward in the Cup. Anyway, he basically has been replaced by Daylon Livramento, a newcomer who's kind of stormed into the position. So we think Daylon Livramento is a definite starter, and we give 1 star to Nuno da Costa as a possible starter. All right, that is our spotlight review. Let's go on to basically summarize some more information on the team. So notable non-selections. We're moving on to surprises here. Surprises on the final squad. But the fact is there were none. Things went very much as expected. So notable non-selections, that would have been any candidates at the definite or likely level that were not selected. The only one I might mention here is Bebe. Not a surprise, but kind of a surprise that he was such a big player in the 2023 African Cup and then kind of off the squad in 2025. But it's not surprising he wasn't selected because he had been off the squad. Any unexpected or surprise inclusions? None there, and no new players added to the squad. So very much, I'll talk about it in closing thoughts there, but very much in line with the team's kind of philosophy over the period. Big names off the squad. We should have Bebe here. I'm just going to find him and put him there. We didn't note any big players off the squad in part one. But we will put Bebe as a big player off the squad since he wasn't selected. We almost thought he might be, actually, but he was not. But really just him as a big name off the squad. Let's go to the injury list, the previous injury list that we did in part one. We had goalkeeper Bruno Varela on the list. He was out with an unknown injury since mid-February and an unknown return date. That situation did not change. And so the Bruno Varela, who had been a likely candidate, was not selected due to injury there. So we will put him in the dropped due to injury category there. And then, sorry, I'll just copy rather than paste. Dropped due to injury. And then we had Jamiro Montero. He was out with an unknown injury since February 7th and an unknown return date. He did return on May 3rd. He played 2 games as a sub and then 1 game as a starter, and was selected for the final squad there. So Jamiro Montero recovered from injury, we will say. And Logan DaCosta, we should have had him on the list here for part one. Not Logan DaCosta, but Logan Costa, the central defender, was, I'm going to put his name on the list here, was out with an ACL rupture or a cruciate ligament tear for the whole season. And at the end of the season, came back into fitness and was on the bench for 4 games and then subbed into the last 2 games of the season, playing 15 minutes each, and was selected for the final squad. So I'll put him as an injury doubt, but still on the roster because he still seems to be in recovery there, but he is recovering from his injury. Logan Costa, we're just not going to sure. We're not sure if he's going to resume his starting spot, is the thing. Okay, that is it. And sorry, we should have covered Logan Costa in part one there. Let's move on to closing thoughts. Well, a very tight team. We saw there's not many, just Bebe off the squad, but generally not many big players off the squad, not many new players coming into the squad, just a very tight group of players who are used to playing together, even though they do kind of switch around positions a bit, which a lot of small teams do. It's the same players for the most part, and probably a group of, say, 15 or 16 players playing all of their games. So I think that will give them strength there, cohesion as a team. Oh, I should be on the closing graphics thought. And that's as much as I have to say. I think we talked about that in part one as well. So that brings us to the end of our look at Cape Verde's players. And as I said, we are making some changes because we're not sure if we're going to finish all 48 teams here. If you go back to the beginning of part one, at the beginning of part two, we talk about the changes that we're making. Otherwise, we will see you. We will see you probably for our next team in Group H here. We would like to thank Michael Foster and Pixabay for the wonderful music in this mediacast. The title of the piece used is Look to the Sky, Tribal Dance Beats Native American.